Hi, I'm Mary. If you're a single woman and you love God, but you're still single and you're not crazy about it, this is the place for you. I think most of us can relate to feelings of being left out or disappointed or discouraged because we're single when we don't want to be single. And I'm in a couple of different Facebook groups for single women, and recently a younger woman had posted that she feels totally left out and alone. It feels to her like everybody has someone except her. And then she just dreads the questions from her mom about, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? And I think we can all really relate to that feeling of being left out. I spent a lot of years being very unhappy with my singleness. I've always wanted to be married and have a family, not because I felt any kind of societal pressure, but just because that's what I wanted. To me, being a wife and a mother is part of having a fulfilled life. But I'm well over 40, and that hasn't happened for me. And for a long time, my singleness was really a source of very deep sadness for me. Now, I would say today, I am probably 95% of the time, I'm peaceful about it and I enjoy my life. I don't prefer to be single. I still would prefer to have a relationship, but I've learned how to be happy and peaceful and content in my life, not because I'm single, but while I'm single. Now, in my situation, I live in a very small southern town. I live far away from all of my family. And if you live in a small town, I'm in the South, but I don't think it matters where in the country you are. If you live in a small towns are more attractive to families. They tend to be a good place to raise children, and most small towns don't really have the fun scene that a lot of single people might prefer. And if you're like me and you live in a small town, then it really does feel like you're an oddball if you're single. And listen, that is real life. And we're in a society that tells women that you shouldn't want to get married. You don't need a man. You can do it by yourself. And the truth is that God created us to want family and want community. In Genesis, he told Eve, your desire will be for your husband. Now, if you really don't want to have a marriage or have a family, that's fine. God puts different desires in all of our hearts. Some people are called to be single. And if that's you, you're probably not even watching this video. I want to talk to the women who have that desire in their heart to be married and to have a family and who don't have it yet. And I think we have that sort of tension in our lives between I really want this and I don't have it, or I really want this and I don't have it and I'm in a society that tells me I shouldn't even want it. I think an important part of working through the sadness that you might feel when you're single is being real with yourself, so that when you're feeling sad, you just go ahead and admit that. Now, I went for a lot of years where I wouldn't do this, partly because I had some trouble identifying any feelings, but when I was feeling sad about being single, I wouldn't admit that. I would just say I was tired, because if you're tired, that makes sense. But if you're sad and you have a great life, you can start to beat yourself up thinking, I'm sad, but I shouldn't be sad. I should be grateful. I think it's easy for us to believe that if we're single, there's something wrong with us. We are in a society that says, if you just want something, you can manifest it. I'm a Christian, and I struggle sometimes that, well, if I don't have something in my life that I deeply desire, then perhaps I don't have enough faith. And then I beat myself up over, gosh, not only am I single, I don't even have enough faith. So of course God isn't going to give me my desires. And I think it's very tempting to just sort of push all of that away and bright side ourselves, where we just say, no, I'm fine, I'm grateful for my great life. And I think it's not either or. I think it can be both and. You can acknowledge, I have a good life, I am grateful, God has blessed me, and also I'm sad because I'm not single. Listen, I mean, you can have a house, you can have a 401k, you can be involved in your community, you can have friends, but those things do not take the place of a relationship, a husband. And I think it's kind of like, if you're on a diet and you really just want chocolate cake, and the diet will say, just have an apple. And you're like, yeah, okay, I ate the apple and now I still want the chocolate cake, because an apple is not the same as chocolate cake. And it's the same thing. I mean, you can get a dog, but having a dog is not the same as having a family. And by the way, it's not just your imagination. When you look at the demographics of the United States, there are more single women than single men. And the older you get, there are more single women than single men. Also, depending on the type of man you're looking for, you may have fewer available to choose from. For example, if you want a man who is financially successful, who could provide for you, whether or not you wanted to keep working, and who has this life together, is someone that you would want to spend your life with, there are not that many of those men as there are single women. So it's not your imagination. There are more and more single people, especially single women. So you being single isn't necessarily about you, okay? I'm trying to tell you that there's a whole lot of single folks out here, and you're not alone. I also think that we romanticize what we don't have. My friends who are married envy my life. They've told me that. Oh, I just wish I had your life. I could be single and do what I want to do, and I wouldn't have to put up with this and that from my spouse and my in-laws, and I could just go and do whatever I wanted. And then from my side, I'm envious because I think I would really love to share my life with somebody. During the pandemic, my brother is married and he has 2 kids. And during the pandemic, I was envious of him because I was like, yeah, he's locked down, but he's got other people around him. He's not alone. And he was envious of me because he was saying, like, she's locked down and she doesn't have to be around, all these people all the time. So it's easy to look at other people and think that their grass is greener. The truth is, everybody who has grass still has to take care of it and water it. One of my girlfriends one time sent out some Christmas cards, and it was like she's beautiful, her husband is handsome, they have great kids, and they sent out the Christmas card, and of course everybody's smiling and looking so happy. And what she told me was, during that photo shoot, she and her husband were bickering. And then, at one point, they're snapping pictures, and they both got so angry, they both stormed off in opposite directions, and the photo shoot had to, wait for a second. So they came back in, and they're kind of like, ding, ding, ding. And then the camera would turn on, and they were like, happy family. And when I looked at those pictures after she told me that, I looked at them going, oh, this isn't really the perfect moment that I thought it was, because as a single person, you look at that and you think, well, see, that I wish I had that. And I'm talking about a Christmas card, but if you're looking at social media, what do people put on social media? They put their adventures, and I did this and my kids did that, and here we are going to Disney World, and here my husband and I are at dinner. I know a woman, and I know for a fact her husband cheats on her. partly because he tried asking me out, and then he asked out a bunch of women I knew, and even went so far with one of them as to say his wife had died. And here his wife is on Facebook. They lived in different towns. And she's posting on Facebook, oh, my great husband. Oh, look at this. We're having fun going to dinner. Now, maybe she knew. I don't know. They might have had some kind of arrangement where she knew what he was doing when he was out of town, and she was okay with it. I don't know. But if you didn't know that situation and you just looked at the pictures, you would think, wow, she's got a great husband. Well, I can tell you, I know for a fact he wasn't great. So we have to be very careful about, we're looking at something that is appearing to be perfect and beautiful and bright and shiny, but in real life, it may not be anything like that at all. Now, I'm a big goal setter. I really love every January to set goals and resolutions. I really love that. I think we have to be careful about setting goals that are not in our control. I can set a goal that says I'm going to get at least 8,000 steps a day. I can control that. We have to be careful, I think, about saying my goal this year is I'm going to get married, because you cannot control if you meet someone. You cannot control if they like you, and you cannot control the course of the relationship. Of course you have an input, but there's another person involved, okay? What they want also matters, and they may not want what you want. There are things in life that we can control. We can control what we do to take care of our physical body. We can do whatever we can in our finances. We can control our mental state. And this is critically important. So many times we think, well, I can't help what I feel. I can't help that I'm sad. But feelings come from thoughts. So here's what happens in life. You have a thought. That thought creates a feeling. That feeling drives a behavior. The behavior gives you a result. So if my thought is, well, everyone's married except me, of course, what's the feeling I'm going to have? I'm going to feel sad. When I feel sad, I don't necessarily want to go out and do things. And even if I do go out and do things, if I'm feeling sad, I'm moping around. And ladies, ain't no man looking for a woman who's sad and depressed. And then maybe I go out, but I'm sad, and then I don't meet anyone because men aren't attracted to sad women. And that reinforces my thought that, see, I'm single and I'm alone. So whenever we're having a feeling that we would prefer not to have, like sadness, the way that you can start to get through that is you have to look at what is the thought that I'm having, okay? So many times we think, well, I just feel sad and I'm just going to hope that I don't feel sad later on. But hope is not a strategy, and we have to look at what are the thoughts that are creating my sadness. So again, if you are looking at all the families around you, if you are looking on social media and your thought is everyone else is happy, everyone else has a man, and I don't, I'm alone and there's something wrong with me, and maybe God doesn't love me because he's keeping me by myself, then of course you're going to feel sad. Now, if you like feeling sad, you're more than welcome to stay there. I did for probably about 20 years. I love the story of Jonah, and he's swallowed up by the giant fish, and it takes him 3 days, which I always wonder about that. You had to be in there for 3 whole days before you decided that wasn't what you wanted. But I can't really judge him because I stayed in my own misery for 20 years. But after 3 days, Jonah says, I've come to realize that those who chase after idols, worthless idols, forfeit the grace that could be theirs. And what he's saying is, I realize that those who chase after these things that they think they have to have. I have to have this to be happy. You're giving up, you're pushing away the favor of God on your life. And that's what I did. I remember walking my dog in my neighborhood. I remember exactly where I was when I said, Lord, I just really don't believe I can be happy if I stay single. And I'll just have to do the best I can with my life. And, if you want to stay in the fish for 3 days or 20 years, he'll let you do that. Because I had decided I just can't be happy if I don't have this. Well, that's an idol. And I finally got to the point where I said, okay, I'm over 40 and the singleness doesn't seem to be changing. And I just want to be happy. Now, honestly, if I'm really truthful, I really didn't believe I could be happy, but I just would have taken contentment. Like if I could just be not miserable, that's what I wanted. And that became the basis of One-Derful life, because I realized that I cannot control if I stay single, but I can, because I can settle. I could have been married 5 times by now, but I probably would have been divorced 5 times by now. So I can't control if I meet the right person, but I can control my thoughts and I can control how I build my life. Now, I'm not one for gratitude lists and gratitude journals. I've done those, and a lot of times I have felt like it was just an exercise and it didn't do anything for me, which made me think I was ungrateful. But what I've learned about gratitude is if you're just by rote listing off things you're grateful for, that may not have an impact for you. What really has an impact is when you feel the gratitude. So if I just say, well, I'm grateful I have a job, then I may not really feel that. But if I think for a moment and think, well, what if I lost my job? I would probably really be appreciative of it. And so when I think about the fact that, hey, I have a job, I enjoy it, I'm satisfied with the income that I have, and when I look at for real, what are the real blessings that I have? And listen, we've all been through times in life where it feels like everything is falling apart, and it just feels like everything is a disaster. But the truth is, we all have something that we really can be grateful for. And frankly, if you're watching this video, you're probably watching it on your phone. That means you have an expensive phone, because it's not the old flip phone we used to have where all you could do was barely text and no internet. So you're somewhere where you can access the internet. You're watching it on a device that, is nice. And you're watching it on a website. Honestly, you're probably in some sort of a safe place. I understand you might be living in a home or in a town that you're not happy with, but when I look at other people in the world, when I think about the people in Ukraine or the folks in Iran right now, where they've shut off the internet for probably going to be 3 months because they don't want anyone to know what's going on there with the uprisings and the murders of the rebels. And I think about, I'm so glad I don't live in a country where there's no internet, and if I walk outside, I might get shot. And so I think that in the United States, we are so blessed and we take it for granted. If you've ever traveled to an underdeveloped country and you see how other people live, you see how blessed we are here in the United States. So I've been through times in my life where I had to get so basic with my gratitude because I was in such a bad place. I remember at one point in my life, I hated my job. I just lost a relationship. I had missed out on a promotion that I wanted. My boyfriend and I broke up. I had moved into an apartment I didn't like, and I had to get so basic and say, okay, Lord, thank you for my job, which I totally hate, but I am making money. I thank you for this apartment. I don't like it, but I'm safe. I have electricity. I have lights. I have heat. I have a refrigerator. I can do my laundry. And I had to say, thank you, Lord, that I have a car. I had to get really basic. Thank you that I have 2 arms and 2 legs. So sometimes we have to take it back down to a very basic level. And the reason for that is so that we focus and ground ourselves in the truth. Because sometimes we will look at this thing that we're missing in our life. I don't have a husband. And it can cloud and color everything else in our life to where we think my whole life is terrible just because I'm single, and what's going to happen to me. But the truth is, that's one part of life. And you can have a flourishing and good life even if you are single. Jesus in John 10:10 said, I came that you would have your life and have it in abundance to the full until it overflows. And not just that you would have your life, but that you would enjoy it. Jesus did not say, I came so everyone could have a husband. There is nowhere in the Bible where the promises of God are tied to marriage. So while yes, I do believe marriage is from God, and I think if we want that, it's godly, but we may not all get what we want. We're in a broken and sinful world. And when you read the promises of God, like in Isaiah, he says, blessed is the barren woman because she'll have more children than the woman who is married. Now, does that mean you'll necessarily have your own biological children? I don't know. But, we can have spiritual children. We have other women that we mentor. My point is, God wants to bless us, whether or not we have what we want. I would really encourage you today to, if you're feeling sad, maybe get your journal out or a piece of paper and just ask yourself, what are some of the thoughts I may have that are causing me to feel sad? And then look at those thoughts and pray about them and ask the Lord to help you change your thinking in this area. And listen, if you're in a place right now where you're struggling with being single, first of all, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not alone. You're not broken. God hasn't forgotten about you. You're not being punished. It's just the way things are right now. And listen, you're in a season of singleness. And I hope that changes for you. I hope it changes for me. I don't know if it will. But what I do know is God wants us to have peace and to have joy and to be a light in a dark world. So you're not alone. And I just want you to know that you have other people, other women who are with you in this. And that's what Wonderful Life is about. Wonderful Life is not about getting to a place where you say, man, I don't want a man because I want a man. But it's about creating a life that you love and you are happy and fulfilled and you have peace and joy and you feel content. Because when you're in that space, you're more attractive, meaning you're attracting people and opportunities to you because you're already happy and you have a good vibe. And as I said, men aren't looking for women who are depressed and bitter. So when you're happy and content, you're in your best position to meet your soulmate. But even if he doesn't show up, you're happy anyway, and that's what you wanted the whole time. Now, if you're struggling right now in a season of loneliness, then I created a free teaching for you. It's on this page down here beneath the video, and I want you to take advantage of that. It's totally free. And I do want to thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.